Apex is a 2026 survival action thriller directed by Baltazar Kormaker, written by Jeremy Robbins, and starring Charlize Theron, Taron Egerton, and Eric Bana. Released on Netflix on April 24, 2026, the film follows a world-class climber who enters the wilderness seeking solitude, only to discover she has become the target of a calculated and terrifying hunt. High above the earth, where oxygen thins and every breath feels earned, Sasha has always felt closest to herself. Suspended against the brutal granite face of Norway's Troll Wall, she exists in a world stripped of noise and distraction. A world reduced to rope, rock, wind, and instinct. Below her, the valley dissolves into mist. Above her, the sky presses, down in cold silence. Clipped into the same line a few meters away, Tommy moves with the same quiet precision. They are two bodies, but on the wall, they function as one system. Each knot checked twice, each anchor tested, each movement a conversation spoken through tension in the rope. For them, climbing is not adrenaline for its own sake. It is trust made physical. It is intimacy measured in meters gained. It is love defined by the willingness to hold another person's weight, literally, over an abyss. The storm arrives faster than forecasts ever predicted. One moment, the sky is a pale, Scandinavian blue. The next, it is swallowed by racing clouds that smother the peaks. Wind screams across the rock face, tearing at their jackets. Snow blasts sideways, stinging exposed skin. Visibility collapses. Communication becomes fragmented shouts torn apart by the gale. They make the only decision that makes sense. Abort the ascent and rappel down. Their movements are disciplined, drilled by years of experience. Sasha anchors first. Tommy adjusts the line. Metal carabiners clink sharply against stone. For a few moments, it feels controlled. Then the mountain answers. A crack like artillery splits the air. Somewhere above them, the snowpack gives way. The avalanche does not roll. It detonates. White fury explodes across the wall. The rope jerks with violent force. Sasha's body slams against the granite, her shoulders scraping raw. Tommy is ripped from his stance, boots scraping helplessly against ice-slick rock. He is hanging now. All his weight, all his fear, all his life pulling downward. Sasha digs crampons into the wall, muscles screaming as she fights to hold position. The anchor groans under pressure. Snow and ice hammer against them. She sees Tommy below her, spinning slightly, eyes wide, not with panic but with realization. He knows the physics. He knows what she knows. The anchor is beginning to shift. The equation becomes brutally simple. One survives, or none do. Her fingers burn against frozen rope. Every instinct tells her to hold on. Every memory of laughter, of shared summits, of whispered plans for future climbs, begs her not to let go. But she feels the rock fracturing. In one impossible, irreversible moment, Sasha opens her hands. The rope whips upward. Tommy falls. His figure disappears into a blur of white and distance, swallowed by the mountain's indifference. The storm rages for a few seconds more, then settles into an eerie quiet, as if nothing extraordinary has occurred. The granite remains. The sky remains. Only Tommy does not. Sasha clings to the wall, her scream lost in wind and snow. 5 months later, the landscape could not be more different, yet the emptiness feels the same. Sasha drives alone across the sun-scorched roads of rural Australia. The horizon stretches endlessly in every direction, a flat expanse of ochre and faded green. The car hums beneath her hands, dust trailing behind like a ghost refusing to disperse. Tommy's absence occupies the passenger seat more heavily than any living presence ever could. She has chosen Wandara National Park deliberately, a place vast, rugged, and unforgiving. If she cannot outrun her guilt, she will exhaust it. At the ranger station near the entrance, a weathered ranger studies her permit and then her face. He mentions recent disappearances, hikers, solo travelers, a couple who never returned to their campsite. Search teams found nothing but abandoned gear. His warning is polite but firm. The wilderness here is unpredictable. Sasha nods, her expression unreadable. Unpredictable terrain does not frighten her. She has already faced the worst terrain possible, one inside her own memory. At a roadside service station on the edge of the park, she steps out into thick heat. Two hunters leaning against a truck watch her with interest that lingers too long. Their smiles stretch thin, their questions too casual. The tension tightens like a rope pulled taut. Before it can snap, another man steps in, calm, composed, voice measured. He introduces himself as Ben. He deflects the hunters with quiet authority, offering Sasha directions instead. Grand Isle Narrows. Start at Blackwater Bay. He speaks like someone who knows the land intimately. His tone is almost reassuring. Almost. There is something steady and unblinking in his gaze. The following morning, Sasha launches her kayak into Blackwater Bay. The water glints under the sun, deceptively peaceful. She paddles into narrowing channels where currents strengthen and rocks jut like broken teeth. Her muscles settle into rhythm. The wilderness demands focus, and for brief moments, she feels something close to clarity. She camps beneath a vast canopy of stars, the Milky Way cutting across the sky in brilliant silence. The isolation is immense, but she has chosen isolation. When she wakes at dawn, her bag is gone. The stillness of the campsite feels altered, too deliberate, too watched. Her search leads her through brush and along the riverbank until smoke curls into view. Ben's camp. He greets her with the ease of someone expecting company. A pan sizzles over a small fire. He offers breakfast, water, even sympathy. He mentions Tommy, mentions reading about the accident online. He speaks of how tragic it must have been. He admits he was watching her at the bay. He admits he took her bag. The air shifts. Ben sets a crossbow beside him and places a portable stereo on the ground. Music begins to play, bright, absurdly cheerful against the tension humming between them. He explains the rules with unsettling calm. She has until the end of the song to run. When the music stops, he will hunt her. Sasha does not waste a second. She bolts into the trees, branches clawing at her arms, thorns tearing fabric and skin. The song echoes faintly behind her, counting down her head start. She reaches her kayak, shoves into the current, paddling with ferocious urgency. The river churns. Rocks scrape the hull. Behind her, Ben tracks with eerie patience. The kayak flips in violent rapids. She crashes into the riverbank, scrambling onto mud and stone. Voices carry through the forest, children laughing, a woman calling out. Hope surges painfully. It is a recording. The trap is psychological as much as physical. Ben fires. The arrow thuds into a tree inches from her head. She dives back into the river, the cold shock stealing breath. She emerges farther downstream, disoriented but alive. Desperate for escape, she grabs an abandoned canoe at the edge of a ravine. A bear trap snaps around her leg. The pain detonates through her body. Metal teeth bite deep. Her scream echoes unanswered, except by the sound of slow footsteps approaching. Ben does not rush. He never needs to. He drags her to a concealed cave system carved into rock. Inside, the truth of the disappearances rots in darkness. Bones stacked carelessly, tattered clothing, the stench of decay clinging to the damp air. This is not random violence. It is ritual. Ben speaks calmly of tribal practices, of consuming flesh to preserve life, of carrying others within him so they never truly die. He believes it entirely. To him, Sasha is not merely prey, she is continuation. But Sasha has balanced above death before. When he leans close, she lunges and bites through cartilage, tearing off part of his ear. Chaos replaces composure. She fights through restraints, fueled by something deeper than fear, fury perhaps, or refusal. She escapes into the river once more, dragging her injured leg. The pursuit continues. A steep drop sends Ben crashing down, briefly unconscious. Sasha struggles to free herself from lingering bonds. For a moment, it seems she might outpace him. But he rises again. The confrontation turns brutal. She seizes a rock and smashes it against his leg until bone fractures audibly. His mobility is compromised now. The hunter limps. Night envelops them in thick darkness. Bound by necessity and terrain, they pause. In that fragile quiet, Sasha speaks, not to him, but into the space between them. She confesses what has haunted her since Troll Wall, the belief that she killed Tommy, that survival was selfishness. The memory of letting go replays endlessly. She has been punishing herself ever since. Morning brings clarity shaped by desperation. If she abandons Ben at the base of the cliffs, she remains chained to him until dehydration or exposure claims him. Days could pass. The only viable exit is vertical. They must climb. The irony is suffocating. Once again, her life depends on rope and shared ascent. She constructs a Prusik knot with steady expertise, anchoring him despite everything he has done. They ascend slowly, every movement strained. His fractured leg drags. The cliff face looms, high and merciless. The drop below mirrors Troll Wall in terrifying familiarity. Halfway up, Sasha reaches a narrow ledge. Her breath is controlled, her eyes clear. She loosens her harness. Ben senses the shift and lunges, attempting to drag her down in one final assertion of dominance. The rope jerks violently between them. For a split second, she relives Norway, the same impossible choice suspended over emptiness, but this time there is no storm. There is no confusion. No doubt. She releases the knot holding him. Ben falls, his scream slicing through the air before vanishing into the depths below. Sasha remains clinging to the rock, alone once more. But this solitude feels different. Not imposed, chosen. She climbs the remaining distance without gear, fingers finding holds by instinct alone. Each pull upward feels like reclaiming something stolen. When she finally crests the summit, the forest stretching endlessly before her, she does not collapse. She stands upright against the open sky. Hours later, she stumbles through trees until headlights break the darkness. A passing vehicle stops. She accepts help without resistance. Back at the ranger station, her voice is steady as she describes the cave, the remains, the ritual horror hidden in plain sight. Authorities later excavate the site, uncovering the missing victims and ending the cycle Ben believed eternal. But Sasha's final reckoning is not with him, it is with herself. She walks alone to a quiet beach, the ocean vast and rhythmic before her. In her hand rests Tommy's compass, the small instrument that once guided their routes, that symbolized direction and shared purpose. She turns it over, feeling the weight of memory embedded in its metal. For months, it has anchored her to guilt. Now, she opens her hand, the compass arcs through the air and disappears beneath the waves. The water closes seamlessly above it. For the first time since Troll Wall, Sasha does not feel suspended between past and survival. She feels grounded. The wilderness did not break her. The mountain did not define her. The hunt did not consume her. She walks away from the shoreline carrying no rope, no compass, no ghost, only herself.